Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev, good morning. So today's verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam is taken from Canto 9, chapter 24, and it's verse 65. Yasyananam makara kundala charukarnam Brajat Kopala Subangam Savita Sahasam Nityotsavan Tatrapur Drishibi Pantyo Naryo Narascha Modita Kubetanimescha. Which means, Krishna's face is decorated with ornaments, such as earrings resembling sharks. His ears are beautiful, his cheeks brilliant, and his smile attractive to everyone. Whoever sees Lord Krishna sees a festival. His face and body are fully satisfying for everyone to see, but the devotees are angry at the Creator for the disturbance caused by the momentary blinking of their eyes. So it's a very beautiful verse. It was actually very hard to choose a verse for today because I wanted to speak specifically about beauty. And if you search in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the word beauty or beautiful is mentioned more than 400 times to describe his beauty. Yeah. So before we arrive to Canto 10, this chapter describes all the lineage that comes before Lord Krishna. It describes in short verses what his life is going to be like, and then at the end of this chapter there is this verse glorifying his beauty. And so the people of Vrindavan, especially the Gopas, the Gopis, Nanda and Yashoda, they were constantly confronted with Krishna's beauty. Yeah. Seeing Krishna is described here as a Nitya Utsava, which means it was a constant festival for them. So every day was a festival just because they were in the presence of him. But still, they were never fully satisfied. It was never enough. So this longing was so strong that even blinking was disturbing for them, because when blinking, they couldn't see him. Yeah. So that was their level of insatisfaction. So I was inspired to talk about beauty today because last week we just finished the Shringar masterclass with Rishi Mukundananda and Sarita. And Shringar is the Sanskrit word basically that describes the art of adorning or beautifying the Lord. And we learn everything like from scratch, how to design a dress, then choose the fabrics, then sewing and knitting, then how to dress Rukmini Panduranga in a proper way, how to adorn them with jewelry, with crowns, with turbans. So all this composes the art of Shringar. And at the end of the course, we had the chance to share our experiences. And what was interesting was to see how the workshop itself was very transformative to each one of us in different ways. And it really changed the relationship that we have with the deity itself. So for me, it was a great challenge. It was a great challenge to my limitations, because just to think that I actually made dresses for deities is a bit crazy. And because I have this deeply rooted belief inside of myself that I'm not good with anything related with arts. So when I was a child, I was always the child that would paint, before crossing the borders, like outside the limits of the painting. Or in geometry, I couldn't basically draw a straight line. I would follow all the procedures like everybody else, but in the end, the result was not so good. So I would avoid arts generally. So in the workshop, all these beliefs came to the surface, like it triggered these limitations or these beliefs that I had inside of myself. So it was quite challenging in the beginning. But what I've understood is that this was not a school project and there was no evaluation to it. Because when we're talking about God, it's so much more beyond being good or bad. No, it's about what effort and what investment you put in what you were doing. No? And when you try to go beyond your own limits for God and your own beliefs about yourself, it's like God makes the limits a bit less tight for you. Yeah. And when you put your creativity in service for him, it's like this love also gets multiplied very easily. So to be able to witness and be part of the whole process of Shringar makes you appreciate much more when you are doing the puja, each detail with which you are choosing to adorn the deity. And each detail becomes meaningful. And what you realize is that all the preparation that you have for puja is actually as sacred as the puja itself. Like it said, there is no difference between the deity and its clothes or its jewelry. So Shringar is basically an offering of beauty. It's a sacrifice also. So in Vrindavan, I had the chance to witness very closely the process of dressing Yamuna Giridhari by often speaking with the pujarinis, how it was the experience for them and what they felt. And I realized how Shringar is very important for the experience of darshan, because it was very different to look at Giridhari when he was just wearing a crown that it takes 30 seconds to put, or when somebody took the effort to make a turban and took 1 hour to really make something beautiful for him. It was really different to see, like you could feel when a pujari took 40 minutes to dress them just because it was his duty, or when somebody woken up 2 hours before just to make them the most beautiful they could. And it was such an intimate process that you could actually guess who has dressed the deity just by the way the deity was looking, just by the style it was wearing. Like there was this intimacy, like the deity was reflecting certain qualities of the own pujari or a certain mood. It was very beautiful to witness. So from this side, when we have darshan, the devotee sees and feels the care by which the deity is taken care of. Yeah. So that makes a lot of difference in the relationship we also build with the deity when having darshan, because beauty inspires faith, and faith also inspires beauty. Yeah, when we have the darshan, we see something beautiful that is inspiring for our faith. And when the pujari is dressing and has this faith, then he will also make this much more beautiful. Yeah, so faith and beauty are interconnected. They go hand by hand on the spiritual path. And so beauty is something that is deeply subjective. It depends on our taste, of course, on our culture, on our experiences. But I think we can all agree that beauty is something that brings pleasure to our mind and to our senses. But I think we humans, we tend to speak of beauty in a very light way. Like we are very easily amazed by something. We say pretty often and very easily that something is beautiful. It's very easy for us to utter these words. And I think we are very much carried away by what our senses tell us that beauty is. And we often fail to see beyond that, what is beyond that. And for me, beauty on the spiritual path was always a great mystery. I would often reflect about it because Guruji has given me the name Harisundari Dasi. So Harisundari is one of the names of Lakshmi, which means that I'm the servant of Lakshmi who is pretty or who is beautiful to Sri Hari or to Vishnu. So I would often reflect what is the purpose of beauty on the spiritual path, because we know we are not talking about external beauty, no? There's something deeper lying there. Because when Guruji speaks about beauty, if you notice, it's a different thing. Like if beauty for him is not connected with the divine, then it's not beauty. Beauty has to bring a sort of divinity with it also. And I've heard a few people sharing the same experience with Guruji before, that whenever they are witnessing something beautiful in the nature, for example, a sunset or a sunrise, and Guruji is there, and Guruji sees how amazed the person is with what the person is seeing, it's pretty often that he says, if you think this is beautiful, then imagine the one who has created it. It's exactly the same when Krishna, at the end of chapter 10, he says, whenever something in this world displays beauty or power, it comes only from a part of my potency. Yeah, he takes a whole chapter, like 40-something verses, to describe everything that is beautiful in this world, and then he finishes and he said, yeah, but this is just a tiny part of myself. So imagine what is beyond that. And even if we're not conscious of the process, we find things beautiful because they actually remind us of him, no, because all beauty comes from the same place. So to speak about beauty without speaking about God feels a bit empty. And again, spiritually speaking, Something beautiful is something that touches deeper, something deeper inside of you. It's like when people read these descriptions of Vrindavan in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and happy people, birds singing, it's a beautiful place, beautiful Govinda. Beautiful place, peacocks and parrots everywhere, and Krishna and the gopis dancing in every corner. And then you get there and you just get dust and being smashed on the streets, and a monkey stealing whatever you have at hands, and beep beep all the time, and get your shoes stolen. You get this whole package, which is very different from what it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's what Guruji says, you can't see Vrindavan with your physical eyes, in the same way that Arjuna needs this special vision to see the Vishvarupa form. Yeah. I remember my grandma always quoting Saint-Exupéry, saying that what is essential is invisible to the eyes. And I always thought this was a very cheesy quote until I came to Vrindavan and I realized, okay, to see beauty here, I think you really need to have a special vision, yeah. But with time, I think you understand it. And the saints are the ones who have this vision, because they easily see the invisible or they see the invisible in what is visible, yeah. Like also in the Gita is said that what is night for the yogi, for the self-control, is day for the rest of us. Because they see what we can't perceive. They have this special vision. And I think one of the greatest examples of this was Surdas. Because when we were in Surda Samadhi near Govardhan, there in Vrindavan, Guruji gave a beautiful satsang, and he said that Surdas was blind since birth, but he could actually see better than any of us. He said that to have eyes and not see, or choosing not to look at him, that is the worst type of blindness that we all have. So Surdas was very special. Now, in his compositions, he would speak about the Shringar of the Lord, describe in detail how Krishna was dressed. And even when there's this lila where the priest decides to test him and leave Krishna naked, Surdas sang, even in your nakedness, you're the most beautiful. In fact, I couldn't perceive how beautiful you were because you were covered with clothes. Now that you are naked, I can see how magnificent you are. And when he had the darshan of the Lord, he said, I have seen your lotus feet. Like, what else is there to see? Yeah, I don't need this vision. Same with Bilva Mangala. No, he got infatuated with this prostitute, and then he plugged his eyes out not to be tempted by outer beauty again. And when he had the darshan, he says also, I have seen you, so what is there to see? Please make me blind again. Because once we truly see him with this vision from the heart, I don't think there's a way of going back like we were before. Yeah. There's something beautiful that Kulashekara Alvar writes in the Mukundamala Stotram. He says, and there's also a Bhagavatam verse very similar to this. He says, once the Lord has been seen, this earth becomes just a particle of dust. The oceans become a single droplet. The raging fires become tiny sparks. The blowing winds become just a faint breath. All space becomes a small hole. Lord Shiva and Brahma become lesser manifestations, and all the devas become like tiny insects. The magnificence of Lord Mukunda transcends all kinds of limitations. But we are not saints yet. We are still blind, like how Guruji says. So when it comes to us, sometimes we don't choose to look at the right things. We are not capable of appreciating this beauty or to focus on this beauty. We are not capable of overcoming this blindness. So Guruji wrote a tweet a long time ago in his first Twitter phase, where he said, when the mind is attached to external beauty, it becomes very difficult to let go of it. How then will one find true beauty beyond physical reality? Only when one realizes that one is here to fully enjoy everything which the Lord has given, not to get entangled by Maya, but by His love. So he gives the solution here in a very simple way. He says, you don't get entangled by Maya if you appreciate fully and you enjoy fully whatever the Lord has given you. So it's about seeing this love in Maya, in whatever He has given you, in whatever He has placed you. I would often feel terrified with this idea of leaving Vrindavan, and then when Guruji sent me to Portugal, he told me Vrindavan is where my devotees are. And so it's this thing that God is not more in Vrindavan than what he is in Portugal or than what he is in Germany. Yeah? Like Rishi Aradhaka was sharing the other day, it's the same Krishna that is in Vrindavan and that is here. We just don't have the eyes to see. We are blind to this. Yeah. So wherever we are, Maya is there in the same way that God is there. So it's a constant choice that we have to make. But we often get distracted, and what I've concluded with the workshop that we did is that Shringar can be an amazing reminder. When we put Archana Bhakti into practice, we are basically bringing the external to the inside. So the external deity will always be a reflect of what we have inside. So the way we choose to treat it will also have an impact inside of us. So if we think about all the additional work it takes for puja, like the way we prepare for puja, the way we clean after puja, the way in which we rub the perfume on the deity, when we offer the prasad, am I offering this prasad like Shabari is offering the berries to Sri Ram, or just in any sort of way? Like even when we do the arati, we are supposed to be reminded of what should be the center of our life. But I see for myself sometimes, and most of the times, I'm doing all these things in a very mechanical way. And so this verse is a good reminder also, because it says having Krishna, having Guruji, having a form of God to worship, then it should be a Nitya Utsava, it should be a daily festival for us. So to conclude, later in the Bhagavatam, in the letter that Rukmini writes to Krishna, basically asking him to marry her, she calls him Bhuvana Sundara, which means the beauty of all worlds. And there is a sort of irony here, because she's Mahalakshmi herself, so she's the possessor of all beauty. When we chant the Shri Suktam, we say that she's of inexhaustible nourishment, which means she has everything that she can have, but still she's saying, but you are the real beauty, not me. Yeah. But what is interesting in this verse where she says this is that she says this beauty is only for those who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. So there is a certain quality of hearing and seeing that you have to be able to appreciate this beauty. And I was reflecting on this and about hearing. When I first brought my Krishna for Guruji to bless, he said, learn to listen to him. And of course he meant it in a deeper way. Like he said, learn to listen what is his will. And he tells me that quite often, that everything is dependent on his will. But listening to him is also on the small details. It's also in the Shringar, it's also in the puja. It's also in the way that you relate to the deity. In fact, it's in everything that we do. If we have the ears to hear, the Lord speaks to us in many different ways, yeah? In a grounded way. And about seeing, I was also thinking about this. When I was younger, I used to love my hometown. And sometimes I wish that I could see my hometown for the first time. Like I could be a tourist in my own hometown and see everything for the first time. But in truth, I think we have to have this vision, these tourist eyes towards the world all the time, because that's what we are here. We are mere passengers. Yeah. So we should look at everything like it's the first time, or look at everything like it's the last time we are seeing, because that we never know. Yeah. And so by having this quality of hearing and this tourist eyes in everything that we do, and by being able to see God's beauty in his creation also, and to understand that his creation is just a reflection of that beauty, I think if we understand this, then the remembrance of him will be much more constant in everything that we do. Because in that sense, beauty can be a great reminder, again, of him. So he's the one giving us that grace of experiencing beauty. And Guruji speaks so often about it. He's constantly saying the expression beauty of life or beauty of bhakti. He's always repeating this sort of expressions. And He's the one allowing us to experience that. So I think we shouldn't waste the opportunity to see this beauty, and should strive to have this special sort of hearing and special sort of seeing. Because again, I think it's a good way to conclude: beauty inspires faith, and faith inspires beauty. So I think it's a good thing that we are aware of it on our path. Jai Gurudev.